They call them giants. Enigmatic, untouchable titans of technology that tower over our modern world. We see their shining logos on our phones, their massive campuses stretching toward the horizon, and their CEOs gracing magazine covers and stages. Trillion-dollar empires that shape the way we live, work, and dream. But behind every towering tech giant, hidden in the shadows, stands an unseen architect. A person whose name isn't etched on the company's front gate, whose face isn't illuminated by the spotlight, but whose hands built the foundation brick by brick. Who really owns these tech giants? Is it the billionaire founders we all recognize, or could it be those who labored in silence, pouring their soul into lines of code and late-night brainstorms? This is the untold tale of one such architect, a story of obscurity, struggle, and staggering triumph. In the dim corner of a small room, illuminated only by the blue glow of a dusty old computer screen, a young dreamer sits alone. Tap, 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 his fingers dance furiously across the keyboard, writing a symphony in code. He is no one special to the outside world, just another face in the crowd, just another kid with glasses and messy hair tinkering away. But in his mind, he's building something no one can see yet, a spark, a seed of an idea that could one day change the world. He's 14, maybe 15, but life has already dealt him a rough hand. His family struggles to make ends meet, and each night he goes to bed with the hum of that aging computer fan lulling him to sleep, dreaming about a future far beyond the walls of his tiny room. While others doubt and tease, stop wasting time, they say, that computer won't put food on the table, he keeps learning, keeps tinkering. Every line of code is an escape, every solved problem a small victory against a reality that tells him he's insignificant. Fast forward a few years, and the boy has grown into a young man with a fire in his eyes. He stands at a crossroads between a conventional life and the wild, uncharted territory of his dreams. College lectures drone on about theories, but he's already building real things every night in that same cramped room. Professors call him brilliant but eccentric, classmates don't quite understand the intensity burning within him. He carries a notebook everywhere, filled with sketches of apps, diagrams of networks, scribbled fragments of vision. To him, these are not just doodles, they are blueprints for something monumental, something that could become the next big tech giant. Late one night, under flickering fluorescent lights in a nearly empty computer lab, he makes a decision that will change his life. He's going to drop out of college and give everything, every ounce of himself, to his idea. It's a social platform unlike anything before, or maybe it's a revolutionary AI, or an ingenious new hardware gadget. The specifics don't matter, because what he's really building is hope. He doesn't even notice the tears welling up as he writes his resignation letter to the dean. All he can think of is freedom, the freedom to try, to fail, to try again, on his own terms. His friends think he's crazy. His parents, terrified and confused, beg him to reconsider. Just finish your degree, his mother pleads, worry lines etched deep on her face. But he's heard the call of something greater. With a duffel bag and a heart full of nervous excitement, he leaves the dorms behind and moves to a rundown studio apartment barely large enough to swing a cat. There, the walls are thin, the neighbors loud, the rent high, but none of that matters. All that matters is the makeshift workspace he sets up in the corner, a cheap desk, his trusted old computer, sticky notes plastered in a halo around the screen with ideas and reminders. Innovation over imitation, one reads. Stay hungry, stay foolish, says another, a borrowed mantra fueling him on lonely nights. The days blur together. Morning and night cease to have meaning when you're chasing a dream. He codes until his eyes sting and his fingers go numb. Pizza boxes and coffee cups pile up like monuments to his dedication. Each small breakthrough, a bug fixed, a feature working, sends him leaping from his chair in silent victory at 3 a.m., pumping a fist in the air as though he's just won an Olympic race. Because for him, these are victories. In these solitary moments, he feels alive. Outside, the city sleeps, but inside his little cave of light, the future is awake and taking shape line by line. Yet with every high comes a crushing low. For every fist pump, there are 10 moments of head-in-hands despair. Weeks go by and his bank account dwindles to double digits. The landlord's notices slip under his door, yellow warnings that time is running out. He pawns his few valuables, a guitar from his childhood, even his late father's watch, just to buy more time, more code, more life for his fragile dream. And it is fragile. Sometimes, in the dead of night, he stares at the ceiling and wonders if he is fragile too. He wonders if all those naysayers were right, if he's just another fool chasing a mirage in the desert. Doubt creeps in like a slow poison. His code isn't working right, the program crashes for the 100th time, wiping out weeks of work. He slumps to the floor, back against the cold wall, and finally lets the tears flow. Hot, frustrated tears of exhaustion, of fear, of loneliness. In that dim glow, he catches a glimpse of his reflection in the blank computer screen, gaunt cheeks, hollow eyes, a face he barely recognizes. The person staring back looks like a ghost of himself, worn down by too many sleepless nights and broken hopes. He wonders when hope started looking so tired. He hasn't called his mom in weeks. What would he say? That he might get evicted next month? That he's down to eating instant noodles and skipping meals to stretch out the little money he has left? He feels ashamed, like he's failing not just himself but everyone who believed in him. The weight is crushing. The dream that once shone bright is now flickering, on the verge of burning out, leaving him in darkness. One rainy afternoon, as grey light filters through a cracked window, he receives another rejection email from an investor, the 5th this month. "We regret to inform you," it begins, "like all the others. They don't believe in him. Maybe they don't even read his proposals at all. The world feels brutally indifferent to his existence." He tosses his phone aside, fighting the urge to throw it against the wall, and sinks into his chair. For the first time, the young man truly considers giving up. He imagines packing it in, calling his mom and asking if that old job offer at his uncle's company still stands. A life of normalcy beckons, quiet, safe, and painfully ordinary. The thought feels like a knife twisting in his gut. He buries his face in his trembling hands. This is the moment most people turn back, he thinks. This is when dreams die, quietly, without witness, behind closed doors and drawn curtains. No fanfare, no dramatic finale. Just a silent surrender. Lightning flashes through the window, a sudden burst of brilliance illuminating the cluttered chaos of his apartment. In that instant, his tearful eyes catch something on the wall, a photograph pinned above his desk, almost forgotten beneath layers of notes. It's from years ago, a younger him, smiling ear to ear, standing beside his father in their garage, both of them holding up a crude little circuit board they built together. He remembers that day. He remembers the way his father's eyes shone with pride, the way he said, "You're going to change things one day, kiddo. I can feel it." His father was gone now, passed on just before the young man finished high school. But the memory, frozen in that photograph, strikes him like a bolt of lightning to the heart. He hears his father's voice echo in his mind. He feels the spark of that little circuit board, their little invention, as if it's still humming in his hands. And suddenly, the darkness breaks. The young man lifts his head, tears still wet on his cheeks, but now his eyes are different. Steadier. Fiercer. He knows what he must do. That night, he makes a choice. If this dream is going to die, it won't be because he gave up on it. If it fails, it will fail fighting, blazing until its last breath. He wipes his face, clears the empty takeout boxes off his desk, and fires up his computer again with renewed resolve. In the silence, he whispers to himself, "One more time. Let's do this one more time." Short, punchy words in the quiet room, like a personal battle cry. With renewed focus, he dives back into the code, but this time he does something different. Instead of trying to do it all alone, he reaches out. He swallows his pride and emails an old college classmate, a genius coder who once offered to help. To his surprise, she replies within minutes. She remembers his passion and is curious about what he's been building all this time. The next day, she shows up at his apartment and almost trips on the mountain of pizza boxes. They share a laugh, the first real laugh he's had in ages, and then spend hours poring over his project. She's honest and blunt. This is brilliant in places, and a mess in others, she says. But it's worth fixing. For the first time in a long time, he doesn't feel alone. Days turn into weeks as the two of them refine the idea together. He teaches her everything he's done, she brings fresh eyes, new perspectives, cleaning up the messy code, optimizing, innovating. They work side by side through sweltering summer days and cool autumn nights. They barely notice the seasons change. One day he's surprised to see leaves turning gold outside, as if time slipped by while they were deep in creation mode. The energy in that tiny apartment has changed. It's electric, crackling with shared dreams and the thrill of making progress. With 2 minds and 4 hands, the project evolves rapidly. They prototype a sleek interface, run tests, fix bugs, and then do it all over again. And in that collaboration, something beautiful happens. The idea is no longer just his, it's theirs. 2 architects now, unseen and unsung, building something that could outlast them both. But the universe isn't done testing them yet. Money is still dangerously tight. They scrape together resources to launch a beta version of their product, selling off whatever they have left. He sells his beloved old computer and borrows a cheaper one. She picks up freelance gigs at odd hours to pay for server costs. When they finally push their product live, a small, quiet launch with no fanfare, just an upload and a click, they hold their breath and watch. The first day, 10 people sign up. Mostly friends and a couple of curious strangers. It's modest, but it's something. By the end of the week, they have 100 users. Then 1,000. Word of mouth begins to spread, a tweet here, a mention in a forum there, their little creation is finding its way into the world. One night, they watch their user count tick past 5,000 and he cracks open a bottle of dollar store sparkling grape juice to celebrate because they still can't afford champagne. They sit on the floor of the apartment, amidst cables and whiteboards and crumpled paper sketches, clinking plastic cups and laughing like children. It's working. It's actually working. However, the climb is just beginning, and every ascent has its storms. As their user base grows, so do the challenges. Their servers start crashing under the load. Complaints roll in about features not working on certain phones, or the interface being clunky. They scramble to patch things up, often working through the night fueled by caffeine and adrenaline. One evening, just as they prepare to roll out a major update, disaster strikes. A critical bug slipped through, one that corrupts their database. In an instant, hundreds of users' data is lost. Their forums light up with anger and panic. The young man feels his stomach drop as he reads the messages, people saying they trusted this new platform and now it betrayed them. It feels like his worst fears come true, the specter of failure, back for revenge just when things were looking up. He closes his eyes, fighting back the surge of panic. This can't be the end. Not like this. He and his partner spring into action. It's an all-night marathon of coding and damage control. They send apologies, communicate transparently with their users, promising to fix things. There's no time for self-pity, their backs are against the wall again, just like before, only this time, giving up is not an option because now they aren't just fighting for themselves, but for thousands of people who have placed their trust in their creation. The sun rises as they finally trace the bug and correct it, painstakingly restoring what data they can from backups. Exhausted and drained, they draft a heartfelt message to their users explaining what happened, and how they'll do better. And then something incredible happens, the users respond with support. They thank the duo for their honesty, they offer to help test future releases. Instead of an exodus, there's an outpouring of encouragement, keep going, we believe in you. Strangers rally behind them, refusing to let this fledgling dream die. Reading those messages, the young man feels a lump in his throat. It's not just him and his friend anymore. In some way, those users have become part of the project, a community, believers in the vision. These people don't know his name or his face, but they believe in what he's building. They are the first to see value in what was once only scribbles in his notebook. He realizes that this dream is bigger than any one person. It always was. It's like a fire that caught from a single spark and spread to others, each person adding fuel, keeping it alive. For the first time, he truly understands, this is what it means to be an architect of something great. It's not about owning it on paper or seeing his name in lights, it's about building something that others can stand upon, shaping the way people live and connect. That is a reward beyond money or fame. With renewed vigor and a growing sense of responsibility, they forge ahead. Weeks turn into months and the little startup that began in a cramped apartment starts catching the attention of the very investors who once turned him down. Irony plays its hand when his inbox, once full of rejection letters, now overflows with meeting requests from venture capital firms and tech bigwigs who finally see what they missed. But he treads carefully, he remembers why he started this journey. Any partnership must align with their vision, no selling out, no losing control of the dream. After careful consideration, they choose an investor who genuinely believes in their mission, one who values users over quick profits. The funding deal they sign is fair, even generous, but comes with pressure, expectations to grow, and fast. Now with a small infusion of capital, they move out of the apartment and into a real office, albeit a tiny one-room space in a co-working hub, but it's a step up. They hire a couple of additional passionate team members, an old friend who is a brilliant designer desperate to join, and a systems engineer who had been one of their earliest users and volunteered his expertise to help them scale. Suddenly, the team is 4, then 5, all huddled around second-hand desks in that little office, working insane hours but filled with a sense of shared mission. Every day starts to feel like a war they are waging together, against bugs, against time, against the doubt that occasionally creeps in. But they have each other's backs. When one gets weary, another pulls them up. When one loses faith, the others ignite it again. They become more than colleagues, they are a family forged in adversity and ambition. The young man often pauses in the middle of the chaos to take it all in, to remember the nights he felt utterly alone and broken. Now he's surrounded by people just as crazy and driven as he is, each contributing their own piece to the grand puzzle. These are unseen architects too, every single one. And he leads them not with the barking commands of a boss, but with the quiet, intense drive of someone who has walked through fire and refuses to let his team get burned. He rolls up his sleeves and works beside them, solving problems, debating ideas, listening as much as he talks. He hasn't forgotten the feeling of being unseen, undervalued, so he makes sure no one on his team feels that way. He credits them in meetings, praises them in press interviews, which he's reluctantly begun to do as their public profile grows. When a tech blog calls him a visionary owner of the next potential tech giant, he smiles for the camera but redirects the glory. "I'm not an owner," he says softly, "just one of the builders." The quote doesn't make the headline, but it resonates deeply with those who know. Of course, success comes with new battles. Competitors take notice. Established tech giants begin copying features, or trying to poach their users. Rumors swirl in the media that one of the big 5 is preparing to launch a rival service that could crush them. Some advisors even suggest selling the company now while they have the chance, cashing out and walking away before they get steamrolled. He even receives a personal call from a high-ranking executive at one of those very giants, inviting him to a closed-door meeting. In a sleek boardroom high above the city, the young scrappy founder finds himself face-to-face with a titan of the industry wearing a shark-like smile. The offer on the table sparkles with more zeros than he's ever seen, enough money to solve all their worries, to reward his team, to fulfill every material wish. The executive promises security, resources, the chance to integrate their creation into a global empire. But beneath the friendly pitch lies an undercurrent of implied threat, a hint that if he doesn't accept, this giant will simply crush his little company and take the market anyway. The young man's heart pounds as he listens. Doubt flickers. Is this the safe harbor they should seek before the storm hits? He asks for time to think and walks out of that glossy skyscraper into the cool evening air, the weight of the decision pressing on his shoulders. It's tempting, the figures being whispered are astronomical for a scrappy bunch of underdogs. It could set them all up for life. The team discusses it long into the night, voices rising in heated arguments, then falling into thoughtful silence. In the end, they turn to their leader, the young man who started it all, for the final call. He's quiet, staring at the city lights outside the window as if searching for an answer among them. Memories flood him, the nights he almost quit, the promises he made to himself, the image of his father in that old photo, and all the people who now believe in this dream. He thinks of the unseen architects everywhere, of those whose names don't make headlines but who give the world their ideas and sweat. And he thinks about who really owns this tech giant they've created. Is it him? The investors? The highest bidder with a fat check? Or is it something more? He closes his eyes and makes his decision. With calm determination, he turns to his team and simply says, "No. We're not selling. We haven't come this far, through so much, just to hand over our dream. We stay the course." Relief and resolve wash over the room. They stand behind him completely. If this is a war, then they'll go down fighting for what they believe in rather than surrender for a payday. And so the battle intensifies. They double down on innovation, pushing out new features that the copycats can't keep up with. They engage their community of users more closely, fostering loyalty that no giant can steal with just a clone product. Every setback from the Goliaths of the industry is answered with a creative solution from their small but nimble team. They turn their size into an advantage. They can move faster, adapt quicker, personalize more deeply. And inch by inch, they gain ground. Users swell to millions, and then tens of millions around the world. The tech giants who once loomed like unassailable mountains begin to take on the air of mortals, not unbeatable, not when faced with the unwavering human spirit driving this startup forward. At long last comes the day none of them imagined at the start. Their company stands toe-to-toe with the very giants that once overshadowed it. In just a few short years, they've gone from an idea in a cramped room to an international phenomenon. Journalists write about the mystery startup that defied the odds, analyzing its every move. They clamor for interviews with the young man, calling him the next genius innovator. He obliges occasionally, but he never lets them turn the narrative into a solo glory story. He speaks of his team, of his users, of the power of collaboration and perseverance. Some in the media don't know what to make of him, a founder who doesn't seem obsessed with taking all the credit. It's not the flashy rags to riches tale they expected, but it's authentic. And authenticity, just like their product, resonates. One crisp morning, the world wakes up to news that sends shockwaves through the tech industry. The startup has overtaken a legacy tech titan in market share, becoming one of those giants it once aspired to challenge. In the company's bustling new headquarters, far from that tiny apartment, yet the scent of whiteboard markers and pizza still lingers in the air, the team gathers around a screen watching the stats in disbelief and joy. There are cheers, there are tears of happiness, there are hugs and high fives. In the midst of the celebration, the young man catches the eye of his co-founder, the very friend who showed up at his apartment all those years ago. They share a quiet, knowing smile amid the chaos. No words are needed, both are remembering the mountain of pizza boxes, the sleepless nights of doubt and hope that brought them here. The young man then steps aside from the celebration for a moment, wandering down a quiet hallway lined with team photos and candid snapshots of their journey, from the early garage days to today. He ends up in a small alcove where, framed on the wall, hangs something that survived all the moves and office upgrades, a copy of that old photo of him and his father with their homemade circuit board. Underneath it, the team had secretly engraved a plaque with his father's quote, "You're going to change things one day, kiddo. I can feel it." He reads those words and finally allows himself a smile of pride and fulfillment that he used to hold back. Not because of the market share or the valuation or being on top, those things are fine, but fleeting. What fills him up is the realization that the promise in that photo has been kept. He changed things, they changed things, and in doing so, they honored all unseen architects who rarely get credit but quietly shaped the world. Finally, one of the reporters at a press event asks him, "What's the secret? How did you manage to build one of the world's leading tech companies from nothing? The crowd falls silent, expecting some technical answer or a business strategy. The young man, now a little older and wiser, pauses thoughtfully. In that pause, he revisits the entire road in his mind, the lonely nights, the heartbreak, the near collapse, the resurrected hope, the battles won and lost. And then he looks up and replies in a voice steady with emotion, "We remembered who the real architects are. We never lost sight of why we started and who we were doing this for. We built something for people, with people. Technology might run on code and circuits, but companies, movements run on heart and soul." His words ripple through those listening, many of whom have followed his journey and know he speaks the truth. And then he adds one final line, almost as an afterthought, though it will be quoted for years to come: "The unseen architects, the ones toiling quietly, fueled by passion and perseverance, they're the ones who truly own every tech giant, even if nobody knows their names." The room is quiet for a moment, then fills with applause, not just for the success achieved, but for the ideals affirmed. People are moved, inspired, some wiping away tears because they see themselves in his story, in his words. Among them is his mother, standing quietly at the back, hands pressed to her lips in awe. She once begged him to play it safe, to stay in school. Now she watches through tears of pride as her son proves that taking the risk was worth it. Others in the audience think of their own late-night struggles, their own dreams, and the things they've built far from the limelight, and they feel seen. A single story of one unseen architect becomes an anthem for all. The press event wraps up, but the journey doesn't end there. It never really ends, it evolves. The young man walks off stage not into a sunset of retirement, but into a new dawn of possibilities. Because this victory, as sweet as it is, isn't just a personal triumph, it's a beacon to others. It's living proof that sometimes the ones in the shadows can outshine the brightest stars, that humility and tenacity can beat arrogance and complacency, and that no dream is too grand if you're willing to fight for it. Later that night, he finds himself alone in a quiet corner of his home, away from the noise and the clamor of success. Everyone else is celebrating, but he needs a moment. Stepping outside, he gazes at the city skyline glittering with lights, each building perhaps housing another unseen architect burning the midnight oil. He closes his eyes and takes a deep breath of the cool night air. In his mind he whispers a thank you to his father, to his mother for her unwavering love even when she didn't fully understand, to his younger self for holding on, to his friends and team, and to every setback that forged him. He understands now that the struggle was the gift. The pain was a teacher. The failures were stepping stones in disguise. Each was necessary to build the unshakable foundation upon which he now stands. He opens his eyes and looks up at the vast sky. Somewhere up there beyond the stars, he imagines his father watching, nodding in approval. And deep in his heart, beneath the immense gratitude, burns a humble new resolve, to pay it forward. To be the mentor, the investor, the friend to the next generation of unseen architects finding their way. Because that is how the cycle continues, how innovation and hope are passed on. We rise by lifting others. The true legacy of any tech giant or any great endeavor isn't the money made or the buildings built, it's the people it empowers, the spark it ignites in others to then light their own way. Standing in the darkness with the world at his feet, the young man smiles and whispers the words he clung to in his darkest hour, now transformed into a credo for life: one more time. One more line of code. One more idea. One more day to make a difference. His journey from unseen to unforgettable proves a powerful truth: the real owners of every great dream are the ones who built it when no one believed, the ones who stayed up after midnight, who endured the doubt and the ridicule and kept going. The unseen architects. People like him. People like you. And as long as there are those willing to toil in the shadows for something they believe in, no dream, not even conquering the giants, is impossible.